Friends, before we move into meditation this morning, let's just move into the awareness that God is the source of all we need. And so what is it that you need this morning? Is it prosperity? Is it harmony? Is it love? Is it clarity? Get in touch with what it is that you need so Spirit can move into your awareness and meet that need. So now that you've had a moment to think about that, I invite you to move your attention down into that beautiful heart. Let's just drop all of our attention down into the heart to connect with the one heart, the one source, the one presence, the one power. Moving into that space of infinite love, infinite wisdom. Feeling that presence right here, right now. Let's breathe into that, friends. Breathing into the awareness of the one source that is ready to meet your need right here, right now. Breathing deeply. Just allowing Spirit to breathe you, the breath of life, moving through your heart. Connecting you consciously to the one heart. And now I invite you to feel appreciation for someone in your life who has loved and supported you. Bring that person's image to mind, and then move that image down into your heart. Fill your heart with that sweet feeling of appreciation for this person. Just letting your heart fill with love, where it's connected to the one love. So we fill our entire being with that sweet feeling of appreciation, that infinite love that is evoked by this person in our lives. Let's take a moment to just feel that. And now we've created this energy field within our bodies, within our community. This energy field of divine intelligence, accessible right here, right now. I invite you to ask Spirit, what do I need to know about this need that I'm experiencing? What is it that I need to know so that I can move forward in life? So let's move into the silence, friends, in this state of love and wisdom, being open and receptive to an answer right here, right now. What is it that I need to know about this appearance of need in my life? In the silence. And now as we move back into the presence of our community, know that whether an answer has come in this moment or not, that because that intention has been set, that faith has been activated, that whatever answer we need is on its way. So we say thank you. Thank you, living, loving Spirit, for moving in and through and as us, providing every answer that is needed, bringing us joy as we feel the connection to our source. Good morning once again, friends. It's a little confusing on this end because I can't see what you're seeing. I'm assuming you can see me now. Okay. I am so happy to join you today. I have such lovely memories of being with you there at Unity of Madison. And I see that you've renovated a bit since I was there last. It looks beautiful. So I'm so happy that I can zoom in with you to be there today. And I've expressed my gratitude in the past for the many years of support that you gave to my BePeace work. But I want to express that again, that over the years, the ties that you sent to me were not only a financial support, but were a huge emotional support and connection to the rest of the Unity movement. Because being out there in Costa Rica doing that work, it wasn't easy to connect with other Unity folks. And so just knowing that you were there supporting this work meant so much to me. You started supporting it in 1997. And so it was such faithful support that it really continued to touch me every month. So I'm here today to give you an update on what you've known as BePeace. And for those of you who are not familiar with BePeace, I'm going to just summarize it very quickly. It is at the spiritual level a synergistic combination of wisdom and compassion. It's knowing how to access your compassion efficiently, how to access your wisdom efficiently, and bring those two great strengths, the synergy of those two great strengths to bear on any challenge in your life, any conflict, and even for celebrations, to get the most out of celebrations. When we combine our wisdom and compassion, we're able to get more out of life. And the essence of it is that we learn how to release any negative feelings that are in the way. We release our negative feelings, our reactions very efficiently. And then we access what we do want, our best intelligence, our spiritual intelligence, our creativity, our intuition. And so that's the essence of the BePeace practice. And I know that many of you learned it with me, and then you continued in practice groups. And I understand that Tajali Tolan, who is a trainer who started with me when it was called BePeace, and now it's called Connection Practice. I'll explain that in a few minutes. That Tajali is going to be with you next week talking about this practice as well. So I'm so thrilled that you're including her and going deeper into this practice. So just to give you an update, since we communicated last, we've trained over 1,500 teachers in Costa Rica, and those teachers taught over 40,000 students in Costa Rica. Now, we don't know exactly how many students have received it now because many of those teachers continued teaching it year after year. So we're guessing over 100,000 students have been impacted in Costa Rica now by what they call in Spanish, ser paz, to be peace. And I had 8 years of support in Costa Rica from 2 different Costa Rican presidents to bring it into their public school system. First, I had the support of President Oscar Arias, who's a Nobel Peace Prize laureate. And then after him, the first woman president of Costa Rica was elected. Her name is Laura Chinchilla, and she also supported our Ser Paz program in the public school system. But after those 8 years, a different political party came in, and I presented the Ser Paz practice to the Minister of Education, but they were not willing to continue the practice. You know, often when a new political party comes in, things change. So as a result, I wasn't able to make progress anymore in Costa Rica. And things also changed in my personal life, so that I moved back to the United States. I moved back to Texas. And while I was in Texas, I started the first BePeace pilot in a public school close to Houston. And it was a great success. The guidance counselor that took BePeace from me came back to her school, her elementary school, and she taught all of the grades BePeace. And every time she had a success with it, she told the principal, and they were just on fire with BePeace. But then it was so successful that we were invited to do an in-service training for the entire school district. And we presented BePeace to 61 guidance counselors and teachers in that school district. It was a day-long in-service. And at the end of the day, the guidance counselors were asking, like, how do I get this? How do I bring this into our school? And so we were working on that, getting it out to everyone, when we received news that there was one person in that training who was triggered by some of the words that we were using, that for her, our words triggered fear. For example, at that time, we called the answers that we were getting from the heart guidance. And this particular person had a different belief system, and she was triggered by the word guidance, and basically went to the school board and said that we were teaching children to hear something other than the voice of God. And so because of that incident, we learned. It was absolutely perfect, friends, that this happened as the first school that we were in the United States, so that we could learn how to reduce fear. That's what we've been able to do. We can now teach this beautiful spiritual practice in a way that is more universal, that doesn't trigger people of any belief system with our words. So initially, we used the words wisdom and compassion to explain this synergy that we attain in the BePeace practice. We changed those words from wisdom and compassion to empathy and insight, because we found that those were words that didn't trigger people, that we could teach this based on science and based on empathy and being able to access our insights without triggering people of any religion. And so I wanted to explain that to you this morning, because I know that you have learned this practice as the BePeace practice, and in Unity, we treasure the word peace. We work for peace. We stand for peace. And we still stand for peace. We know that when people use the connection practice, that they get to peace. And so all our intention was to reduce fear, and we've done it. Now we can go into any business, any school, any place, and teach the connection practice without using words that people associate with any particular religion. So this was a great learning experience in Texas, and it has helped us to move forward and to have more impact by changing the language that we use. So as a result of that learning, we now have 162 connection practice trainers, and we have an incredible movement going on in Japan. We have over 35 trainers in Japan. They took the connection practice and made it their own. They actually have developed their own nonprofit organization, which is called Razur Japan. Many of you know that it's the Razor Foundation that I founded back in Costa Rica in 1997 that now became a U.S. nonprofit, Razor Foundation International, that has the purpose of spreading the connection practice globally. And so we're setting up a countrywide model in Japan, and that's why they set up Razor Japan, to spread the connection practice there. So you may know that I wrote a book about the connection practice. It's called Completely Connected, Uniting Our Empathy and Insight for Extraordinary Results. And I wrote this with this new language that wouldn't trigger anyone, but I did include a chapter on BePeace, so that people who had a sense of connection to that name understood that we had used that, and that we'd used it especially in faith-based communities. So after I wrote my book, I moved back to the United States to live permanently. I chose to live in California. I chose that very intentionally because I thought that the Bay Area of California would be the most fertile ground for the spread of this practice. Coming back to my own country, I realized that there was so much violence, so much unnecessary suffering that could be eliminated if people knew how to manage their inner lives, to be able to consistently get to creative answers, to consistently get to peace. So I wanted to contribute to my own country, and especially I wanted to reach kids in our schools where we're experiencing school shootings regularly. Kids are trained to be ready for a shooting at any moment. I saw a piece on that recently on the news where the children are trained exactly what to do, and even trained to know how to stop bleeding in a classmate. And this is so horrific to think that our children are having to live in this kind of a fear-based environment. So I'm passionate about getting this practice to kids, and we know that if we can teach the children this practice, that then it can be passed from generation to generation, that when we get conscious about how to manage our inner lives to release our reactions and move quickly into our spiritual intelligence, that the whole world can shift into a world of peace, into a culture of peace. So when I moved back to California, I decided to apply to become the minister at Unity of San Jose. And of course, I lived in San Jose, Costa Rica, and now I live in Gilroy, which is close to San Jose, California. So I am the part-time minister at Unity of San Jose. And when I decided to take that job, I did it with the intention of experimenting to see if the connection practice could help create a more harmonious environment in spiritual community. We all know that in every church, in every spiritual community, that conflicts can be very hurtful. They can divide congregations. They can create pain that never gets healed. I witnessed this over many years being a Unity minister. And so another passion of mine, besides getting this practice to children, is getting it into Unity, to see our ministers become more masterful in resolving conflicts. And so I'm delighted now, friends, that just 3 months ago, I taught the minister candidates at Unity Village. I have been able now to get the connection practice as part of the ministerial curriculum. So our ministers It moves me to tears, I'm telling you, because I've seen so much pain, in our Unity movement. It's so unnecessary. It's just from lack of developing the skill. It's the how-to, friends. We know the concept of oneness. We believe in it. I heard you say your Unity principles this morning. We know those are true, and we strive to embody them, but we need to know more. We need to have the skill of embodying them. We need to know how to manage our inner lives in a way that we can quickly get to our spiritual consciousness, where we can live by embracing our humanity and moving into that divine answer that is always there within us in any conflict and any challenge. So the science that we have today is just remarkable in helping us to live from our spirituality. You know, the connection practice has been scientifically verified at every step of it. You know, we have steps of the practice, and each one is verified by scientific research. So we experience the resonance of this practice intuitively, but we also have the science that backs up every step of it. And you know, the Fillmores always were looking at cutting edge science and understanding that when science is true, we know spirituality is true, that the two must come together. And that's exactly what we have in the connection practice, and it's why I'm able to teach it to business people. I'm able to teach it in public schools because I can teach it from the science. And people have the spiritual experience, whether they call it that or not. Yahoo! Did I hear somebody say? Yes. All right, and so another thing that's happened in Unity, friends, is that I was invited to teach the Silent Unity supervisors, our Silent Unity prayer ministry. At Unity Village, I taught the Silent Unity supervisors how to do the connection practice, and I helped them understand how the connection practice is really what happened for Myrtle in her healing. When we understand Myrtle Fillmore's healing at the scientific level, it is exactly what we do in the connection practice. It's just that we understand more of the science behind what happened for Myrtle, that she wasn't only doing denials and affirmations, that there was a physiological shift that went on in her that helped her to access her guidance, that helped her to heal. So there was far more going on for Myrtle than just affirmative prayer. And we understand that now. There's a whole message that I do on that topic, so people can understand in Unity the deeper truth of what happened for Myrtle. So I was so delighted to train Silent Unity supervisors in this practice. And also our wonderful CEO of Unity World Headquarters, Jim Blake. I love this man. He invited me to do a personal demonstration of the connection practice with him. So at Unity Village, I was in Jim Blake's office, and he had a negative feeling about a meeting that was coming up that day. And we processed that feeling and the perception of the unmet need under that feeling. And then we went into what's called heart-brain coherence, and he got a creative answer and insight about how he could come to this meeting with a new idea. And he was delighted at the results that he got from this demonstration that I did with him. And he's been very supportive. He signed Unity World Headquarters up as an associate to my webinars that I produced in 2017 and 2018. So he's just been completely on board, and I see that in some of his Facebook posts that he's posting about some of the science that I shared with him that was behind Myrtle's healing. So we are coming together, friends, after all these years in a more conscious way about the connection practice. And as you heard in my intro, that I received the Light of God Expressing Award, which was a tremendous honor, and I was so appreciative to be acknowledged in this way. But what was more important, truly for me, was I got a chance to be heard. I got a chance to talk to my colleagues and spread this understanding of the connection practice that is under Myrtle's healing and that is so needed in our movement, not only for physical healing, but for healing of conflict. And so I got to be heard, and that was, wow, that was a big moment to be able to spread this even further. You know, I've been talking in the Unity movement for years, but receiving that award helped me to be heard anew. And so I wanted to tell you what's happening right now that's the most exciting development in the many years of teaching this practice. And that is that we now have developed what are called connection practice boards. This is what they look like. This is a prototype of the boards. We don't have more than the prototype developed now. We have 6 of these sets of connection practice boards, which make it possible to do the practice using these magnets. You see how I can move the magnets. So we have 2 boards. I'm going to hold them up here. This is what we call the feelings and needs board. It has the most common feelings and needs that human beings have. And so a person can process a challenge. They write their challenge up here on this line, just very short little description of the challenge. For example, let's use the child who's been bullied. So let's just say that, Sam pushed me and called me a name on the playground. And so this child comes into the guidance counselor's office, and the guidance counselor can now be far more effective in shorter time by saying, okay, let's say this child's name is John. So John, what were your feelings? Hurt, lonely, afraid, angry, resentful. And John, what were your needs? To be heard, support, and mostly emotional safety. And then John has to guess Sam's needs and feelings. So, Sam or John, what do you think that Sam might have been feeling when he did this? I wonder if he might have been feeling jealous or sad or confused or guilty. And I wonder what Sam's needs might be. Oh, they might be confidence, maybe acceptance. Maybe he needs to feel like he belongs. But most of all, we're guessing that the bully has the need to matter. So the one that got bullied, the primary need was emotional safety. And the one that did the bullying had a need to matter. So once you get the 2 main needs of people in conflict literally on the table, then you move into this state called heart-brain coherence, where it's a state where we can most efficiently hear the still small voice, where we can hear that voice of peace, of creativity, of an insight that helps us to move forward, to resolve challenges efficiently instead of taking years and years and years to get over them. My father was bullied when he was a little boy, and I think it impacted him the rest of his life. If he'd been able to do this practice, he might have been able to get to a place of strength again and to have empathy for the bully. And so after moving into heart-brain coherence, the student would ask themselves, what do I need to know about this situation? And listen inside for that creative answer and write the answer here, and then write how they're going to act from that answer here. So this practice helps us to immediately release the negative feelings, get to self-empathy, empathy for the other, into a coherent state where the heart and the brain are helping us to clear the channel to hear spirit, and then write the answer and move forward in life. That's what we can do, friends, with the terrible violence that's going on in our schools, with bullying, with how many kids are suicidal, who are depressed, who are at risk in other ways. So our aim now is specifically to get this practice to guidance counselors in schools. I'm going to show you actually a short little video. This is a 90-second video of the children actually using these boards. I hope you're able to see that. Can you see that? Okay, I'm going to play it now.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Visser, and I'm a conflict resolution practitioner and educator. I first met Rita Marie over 10 years ago. I saw her speak, and it was as if a lightning bolt struck inside me. It all came together in a way that just made sense. And after that, I became formally trained in the connection practice and also read her book, and now I am able to use this with children and adults. So when I'm working with children, they just get it. It happens quickly. They understand what we're doing here. They can actually pick up the part about the language, the feelings, and needs very rapidly. And particularly with the coherence, it's almost like they're all naturals. So they can easily move into a state of heart-brain coherence and easily access the wisdom in their own hearts. I don't know of any other practice that is so efficient, can happen in less than 10 minutes, and is so effective.
I think that the connection practice helped me to understand people's viewpoints more. I feel like I'm more open-minded now that I know. It just felt simple and it felt good to do it with other classmates and all. So I think this is a really great tool to use, especially if you're going through a rough time.
It kind of almost enlightened me. It made me feel like, oh, okay, so I'm not alone and there are other people who understand that kind of thing.
If people at my school knew about this, then they would see things differently and feel differently about what they're saying and what they're wishing upon other people.
So friends, can you imagine when we're able to teach millions of children this, so that they can really understand their inner lives and be able to respond with that spiritual, creative response to their challenges instead of responding back with attack, the things that lead to violence. So I wanted to just share with you, I had an exhibit at a student mental wellness conference here in California. It was a conference that was sponsored by the State Department of Education, and there were over 1,000 participants. Most of them were guidance counselors. So I had my exhibit there, and I had the prototype of the board standing up on my table, and I got the most action of any exhibit at this conference. I was swamped. I was by myself, and I didn't really expect this kind of response, but I had all these guidance counselors wanting to know about these boards and see how to use them, and then they started signing up, when can I get these boards? When can I get these boards? So there was a fellow who had a booth across from me, and he saw that I was having all this activity at my booth, and so on a break, when everybody else was listening to a speaker, he came over and said, well, what is this all about? So I took him through an example, and I showed him the biofeedback software that helps us learn how to get into heart-brain coherence efficiently. Showed him the whole thing, and he said, wow, he said, we are so overwhelmed by the number of at-risk students in our schools. There is no way that we have enough counselors to meet the needs of our at-risk students. There's just not enough funding. There's not enough counselors. Everyone is overwhelmed. If you ask anybody at this conference what we're going to do about this situation, nobody has an answer. But if we could teach our students this self-empowering skill, they wouldn't need all those counselors. They learn how to do it for themselves. And so he was so excited about the possibility of being able to teach kids what he also called self-therapy. So this is what we're aiming for these days, friends, is to get these boards manufactured, to get them out there in the world with video instruction. The young woman that you heard in the video, Kelsey, she's a connection practice trainer, and she's a Unity kid. She was raised in Unity, and now she's teaching the connection practice. So she did all the video instruction videos recently that we've made to be able to get this curriculum out to schools. So it'll be so easy for guidance counselors to learn it, and teachers to learn it, and parents to learn it, because we've got the boards that make it tactile so that it can be learned so easily and effectively, and people can do it more consistently because it's right in front of their faces. This is what we've learned over the years that we needed to do to make it simple, to make it efficient, and to make it consistent. And so with video instruction, we can get the boards out there in the world, and people can learn to do it very rapidly. We can have a wave that goes out all over the world, teaching people how to efficiently get to their wisdom and compassion and use those great strengths to respond to life. So everything that I've said here today, friends, you can take pride in yourselves at Unity of Madison. It still moves me to tears. So I'd like to pause for questions and answers. You can ask me anything about what we're doing now, or more specifics, examples of how we've helped students, whatever you'd like to ask.
Whatever questions you have, please use the microphone. Jonathan's walking up to you.
Bonjour, Rita Marie.
Jonathan.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Will you let me know when Unity of Madison can purchase a connection practice kit?
Yes, I certainly will. We are looking for the funding to, get those boards manufactured. We're working on a crowdfunding, so I can let you know when the pre-sales begin. And if you can support it with the pre-sales, then that will help us to be able to get these boards out in the world. So I'll let you know. Thank you.
Thank you. It's funny, I'm looking at you on the screen knowing you can't see me, but I'm looking at you and enjoying the radiance. So, will you let me know when Unity of Madison might be able to support that funding process for the production of those boards?
I will, Jonathan. Thank you again for offering that, because we need funding actually on our crowdfunding site that we're going to use. It's called chuffed.org, and it's going to be a while before we actually get it up there and get it ready to put out to people. But we're going to be raising $100,000 for the manufacture of boards, and then $50,000 for a coordinator to handle the whole delivery of those boards. So yes, I'm happy to inform you and your community there about how you can support us to get these boards out to the world.
Do you have an idea of what the connection practice kits will be once they're available for sale?
What the price will be?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're looking at $49. That's with getting the two magnetic boards. They're magnetic actually on both sides. So a family can put these boards right up on the refrigerator. They're not too big. So like any conflict that comes up within a family, those boards are right there on the refrigerator. Boom, boom, boom. So anyway, they're magnetic on both sides, and they will come with video instruction that shows you how to use them as an individual, like as an adult, how to use them as a parent. And then there's actually a full curriculum that comes with them for teachers to use in the classroom. So the video instruction makes it possible to learn it, no matter what age you are, no matter what walk of life you're in.
Can I get an amen?
Amen. Thank you.
Other questions?
What about training for someone? How would someone get training to do for Unity, but also for school?
Sure. Great question. So a question from the audience was how would someone who hasn't perhaps done BePeace or the connection practice, how would they get training to effectively use this kit? You had mentioned video instruction, and I'm guessing you have some links, other ways that folks can get connected with the connection practice, correct?
Absolutely. Yes, I produced these webinars in 2017 and 2018 with the purpose of creating a self-study program, which we now have. So you can take all three parts of the connection practice. Part one is the practice, part two is the connection path, and part three is connection mediation. So all three of those are now available by self-study, and what you do is you listen to the lecture, and then you also have the option of securing a connection practice coach, so that each time I explain that part of the practice, then you can actually do it with a coach, so that you can learn the practice very well through this self-study program plus coaching. You can take it without coaching, but it's far more effective if you also take the coaching so that you're actually doing it, not just thinking about it. And I can send you the links for that too, Jonathan, so that you can learn about that. It's available, the information's available on connectionpractice.org.
Thank you. So great answer. And Nicole's question specifically, how to then be an effective facilitator or coach using the connection practice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, you can take the basic course through the self-study, and then you need to contact me, and I talk with whoever's interested in becoming a certified coach or trainer. And if you have some background in this kind of thing that would make you well prepared to be a coach or trainer, we assess that. And then you're invited to come to San Jose and take a certification course with me. So it's a very efficient process, really. And our next one is in March, and then we're going to do another one in September, a certification course. So you can take the self-study courses up until that time and then come and take the certification course with me in March or September.
Great. That was a Unity kid asking that question.
Oh, all right. And speaking of kids, I'd like to just give two examples, Jonathan, because I really didn't share how this impacts kids. But just about a month ago, I had a connection practice trainer here with me in San Jose. She came from Texas. And her daughter had a friend who had been cutting herself for over a year. And she'd been in counseling for almost that long too. But she wasn't getting better. And actually now she'd become suicidal. And so because this trainer's daughter was aware of this, she asked her mom, can you help, Mom? Can you teach them the connection practice? Because this trainer's daughter had benefited tremendously from the practice in their family. So this trainer, Belinda, said, well, yes, I'd be happy to try a connection practice session. And so she did this session with the mother and the daughter, and it turned the whole thing around. The daughter is no longer suicidal or cutting. All she needed was to be deeply heard, have the empathy that helped her to really feel heard and know that she mattered, and then also to find that creative answer, the answer that was within her, but she just didn't have the know-how to access on her own. And so that's a recent example. And then the most miraculous example that I've ever seen was in Japan. We had a man whose primary aim in life was to make money. He believed that if he could just make enough money, that would be the best thing that he could do for his family. So he was very driven, a businessman, had his own company. And then suddenly one day, his son could not stand up. He said, Dad, I can't get up. Something's wrong with my legs. And so they took this young boy to the doctor and could not find anything physically wrong with him, nothing. But this young boy got into a wheelchair and was in a wheelchair for a year. Then his father, seeing his son in this situation and also realizing that his own health was going downhill, that he was stressed out all the time, just trying to make money, that he decided to learn the connection practice. So he was in a course in Japan, and while he was in that course, actually the course he was taking at this time was the connection path, where he finally got the understanding of how to give empathy to his son. And he had a creative idea, an insight of how to help his son. So he went home and he gave empathy to his son, deep empathy, and then presented this creative idea. I won't go into the details, but presented this idea to his son. The next day, his son stood up and walked. This is the power of this practice, that it has the ability to break through these psychological states that, people sometimes end up in therapy for 10 years and don't get down to the essence of it. But when we can help each other feel deeply heard and understood and supported and get in touch with spirits flow in us of creativity, there's nothing better. Nothing better, friends.
So Rita, those were fantastic examples, and both involved kids, and yet you shared your experience with Jim Blake. And just want a reminder that the connection practice can help adults sort things out too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, we've taught from 5-year-olds to the oldest person I've taught was 89 so far.
The question, you said only 10 years of therapy? Wait, 10? That's round 1, isn't it? Anyone else have any questions?
How could this practice be used when we're selecting a minister?
Amen.
I couldn't hear it.
Of course. Timely question. How can the connection practice be used to support, say, Unity of Madison as they begin the process of a search for a new minister?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a very good question. What I would do actually is I would have Taj Ali come there and lead a connection practice with the congregation. I've done this with churches, not only Unity of San Jose, but I've done it with other churches where there's been some kind of a change and people have feelings about it and unmet needs, or sometimes met needs too, and that collectively the congregation needs to get to a point of release of any negative feelings, and also then to a place of collective insight. And there's a way to lead a whole group in that is incredibly powerful. So that's what I would recommend. And I could talk to Taj Lee about how you do that with a whole congregation. But I know she'd be very skilled at leading that. Just another point of awareness, when I first came to Unity of San Jose, I did not resonate with their vision and mission statements. And so, as the minister, I just felt like I had to resonate with the way they stated the vision and mission. And yet I knew that doing those vision and mission statements is really painful. And so here I was, what was I going to do? I couldn't resonate with it, leading a group that had those particular words and, how to do that. So what I did is I engaged the entire congregation in a connection practice around their vision and mission statements. And as a result, it was enjoyable. People came together around it. We didn't have difficulty with the wordsmithing part of it. And we have actually a vision, mission, and inclusion statement. That's part of what came out of this, is we realized we wanted a statement that was about inclusivity, and that we didn't want that mixed in with the vision and purpose, or vision and mission. And so we came up with a vision, mission, and inclusion statement. And every person in our community knows our purpose statement, and we sing it every service. Would you like to hear it? Okay. Yeah, so this is our purpose. Very simple. And like I said, we know it. And a lot of times people write these things and spend all this time wordsmithing, and then it's put on a piece of paper and nobody remembers what it says. And so here's our purpose. Love deeply, grow daily, teach wisely, serve joyfully. Those are the things that we aim to do in order to achieve our vision of a world that embodies oneness with God.
Beautiful. So some leading questions here. Do you recommend that folks keep an eye on the upcoming Thursday Unity email for links and information on how they can continue to stay involved?
Yes, Jonathan. Sounds like a great idea.
Do you also strongly recommend that they come back next Sunday to experience Taja Lee and her talk and her practice group after service next Sunday.
Absolutely. Doing it is everything. You know, we can talk about it, you know, all day long, but Taja Lee actually leading a group, the experience is everything. You know, you don't realize how much power you have, how much confidence you gain when you learn exactly how to combine your wisdom and compassion and use them in the moment you need them in life. Yes, do it, please.
Amen, amen. I notice it's 10 after 11, so I think it would be wise to lovingly move forward, if that's okay with you. We have another fantastic group song coming up, so we encourage you to stay connected via the live link and enjoy our musical skills as well. Blessings to you, Rita Marie. Thank you for all that you've done over the decades, both within Unity and without. Thank you.